Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of FPL Variance powered by Fantasypedia. Fantasypedia is the one-stop shop for everything related to FPL, whether it's captaincy or transfer decisions. Fantasypedia helps FPL managers make optimal decisions for their FPL teams. Make sure to follow them on Twitter for regular updates. And we're back. It's a short turnaround, but we have plenty to talk about. I am Zeeshan, and I have with me my co-host Anshuman. How's it going, Anshuman? How's the game week?
Was well. It was a green arrow again, so it went well. Nothing much to talk about it. The punts played off well. It was a very template game week. I think people who owned Salah were lucky enough with the goal, but again, apart from that, nothing to talk about.
Good to hear that. Another bad game week for me. I think I'm just going downwards. But yeah, the good thing is that it's a short turnaround, not much work. But I'm looking forward to the next game week. And yeah, like I said, a lot of talking points here. We are going to discuss James Maddison, who has annoyingly picked up a fifth yellow card and he won't be available for the blank game week. We also have some Reece James replacements potentially lined up because again he's picked up a long-term injury and a lot more in store. So yeah, we will get started. Anshuman, take us through. We'll start with the James Madison replacements.
So I mean, obviously, Madison he did what he had to in what FPL managers worried about. He took the yellow card in almost at the end of the game, almost the last kick, and so he has to be replaced now for a lot of people, for a hit for a lot of people who can afford for a free transfer as well. So we've come up with some replacements. We've taken this graphic from FPL Optimized. Thank you guys for allowing us to use this. It is a graphic which represents expected points or expected value provided by that midfielder over the time period of game week 12 to 15. I've sorted it in various ways. So obviously that comes up. The player that comes to everyone's mind at the moment and who is top of the charts is Trossard, who looks like a good punt and looks like the option if you want to go for a 1 week short punt because again Brighton's fixtures don't get better afterwards. He looks like a decent 1 week punt but not longer. And a lot of people will argue, oh, it's just a 2 point hit because it's a blank game week. It's not because you need one transfer to take him out as well if you want someone like a Foden or Saka going ahead. So, yes, he is the top transfer suggestion according to this table. Even if I had to, I'm looking at Trossard. But personally, if you're in a setup where you can't afford a lot of hits and transfers, I would rather just play with 10 people and let Madison stay and go for someone like a Foden or Saka next week. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much in the same situation, and Foden and Saka are standouts. We also spoke about Saka last week, how he has penalties now, and he's gonna be right up there, especially with Arsenal's upcoming fixtures. But yeah, if you fancy that 1 week one, if you want to go aggressive, the fixtures don't really come better for Trossard this week, and we've seen in the past, even under Potter, even under the new manager, he's very attacking. So I think there's a lot of upside here. Another option that sort of stands out to me, and I keep talking about him every week, and I kind of regret that I didn't bring him in
Yeah,
last week,
I know.
is Mason Mount. And again, he's not to be recommended, but he's doing the job. I was just checking in the last 2 weeks, he's got 27 points, which is pretty good. I think Potter likes him, Anshuman. What do you think as a fan? Do you think he's firmly in his good books now? I know your views were a bit on the other side last week. How do you rate his prospects purely from a minutes perspective going forward?
I mean, no, Mount is essential. As in, I said it last week as well that he is one of the essential guys, and he's very pivotal in this new system. But the issue again is the minutes. And for people who don't know, Mount was carrying an injury in the game. He played through the pain, and which will come into effect because now it's a short turnaround. So if he, in case, does have the pain, and if the pain persists, he won't be risked this match. He probably will be benched. So I do like Mount. So if you are not looking at keen at Trossard, Mount is probably the guy, and he's the guy you can hold up till game week 16. So you don't have to transfer him out. He's very pivotal, and Brentford are more weak on that side where Mount plays in the right central zone. So that's where Brentford are weak. Brentford really concede a lot of chances from that end. So if Mount starts, he could actually do very well this game week. So it is between Mount and Trossard as the top two picks. Zaha is one of the other names that pops out. But again, if you see his performances, he's one of the guys you want to take out this week. If I had the chance in the next upcoming games, I will take out Zaha. He's not performing as he should. Again, you can't rely on his penalties as well for returns.
It does seem like that case. And yeah, I think Zaha, for those who already own him, he is staying in purely because it's a blank day week and there are so many other files to put out, and he's not really looking good based on what I've seen from Palace. Palace in general not very appealing to me. But yeah, they still have okay fixtures in the next few. So yeah, I think it's firmly a don't buy, don't sell territory when
Yeah.
it comes to Wolf Saha. I think you just have to ride it out if you already have him. Uh, uh, Anyone else now? What about Bowen and Shaman? Jared Bowen really did well last season. This season he's been a bit inconsistent. Do we think we should go there? Probably, perhaps. Also, he's got Liverpool this week, who've not
Yeah.
been great defensively. Uh, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I didn't expect you to say that after the 1-0 win they had last day, yesterday against you. But again, the only factor that comes in when buying Bowen is that I wouldn't buy him this week because he plays Liverpool. I don't see it as a very huge point potential game for him. And when you move on to next game week, Foden and Saka stand out in the same price bracket. Even Mount, I think those three are top three for me if I had to buy someone next week or going forward. And then Bowen comes fourth for me. So just because of the factor that Saka, Foden, and Mount are so pivotal to their teams and so much more attacking, and just because they're performing as well, they have form, they have team stats as well. So it's not just the individual brilliance that they bring to the team, but the team supports their game as well. So for me, Bowen just doesn't make it to the cut because of the other options available.
Yeah, it's a fair shout. I think Bowen will still do well versus Liverpool, despite City not scoring versus Liverpool. I think there are a lot of chances. I was looking at Haaland's numbers, for example, and he had a total of 6 shots. He had a big chance. He had 4 on target. So it's purely down to Alisson having a very good game. He will continue to have good games, but I think Liverpool
Yeah.
will have those phases where they concede a lot of chances. But yeah, on the other hand, you're looking at the likes of Saka and Foden, and I think you need them. And if you're the kind of guy who doesn't fancy wasting a lot of transfers, I think being patient, sitting tight for a week, and then upgrading to a Saka or a Foden is definitely the right play. Speaking of Liverpool, there's one man who is back among the goals, Mo Salah. Uh, what are we thinking? There's a lot of dynamics out there changing when it comes to Liverpool because Diaz was out with injury and now Jota apparently we hope that he gets well soon. But he is also out injured, so it's looking quite kind of straightforward, don't you think? Because there's Nunez, there's Firmino, and there's Salah. You'd kind of expect them to feature in most of the games in the upcoming weeks, Anshuman.
Yeah, we do. I think Salah is firmly back for people who can afford him. You want to go Salah. For people who have Kane, it's like a slight dilemma because Kane hasn't blanked since game week 2. He's been the one who's been ticking along. He's the premium, which should have been in our teams. But again, it could be the game week for Salah because one, he's a prime captaincy candidate this week. And again, going forward, it looks like the fixtures will favor him. And just the fact that he's on penalties for Liverpool just swings it for me. Apart from Firmino and Nunez, who most likely won't be considered this game week because the forwards have been ticking, there aren't many injuries there. I think Carvalho is one player which could go under the radar and who could be starting on the left wing. It depends on how Klopp set up, but even in a 4-4-2 or 4-2-3-1, I think it's very likely that Carvalho starts that left wing. We've seen that he has those glimpses. He can play on that left wing, but especially on short turnarounds, you need players who are fitter. I think the young lads are more fitter generally, and I think they don't have a proper left winger apart from him. So I am keen on Carvalho, but again, it's a very huge punt if you want to go that side because he is cheap. He's 5.2 or 5.3, but again, minutes will be an issue. I don't see him club starting Nunez on the left wing, which is a popular opinion by some people that Firmino center, Nunez left. But again, I don't think that will work out. I don't see Nunez as a left winger. I think 4-2-3-1 with probably Carvalho on the left wing is an option.
Yeah, I think there's a fair shot because I've heard a lot of Darwin Nunez left wing shouts as well. With all due respect, I just don't think he has the IQ to play on the left wing and do a lot of things that a Jota or a Luis Diaz could do. But he's good at what he does. And again,
Yeah.
in the City game, I sort of transferred him in last week for my team because I knew with the kind of uh, with our playing style, he will get chances, and he had those chances. But the same story, he couldn't convert them. He could have set up Salah for a goal as well, but he couldn't pick up a pass. I think all he's good at is staying in the box, camping in the box, and putting shots away. He'll put 5 or 6 shots away, and you got to hope that two or three of them on a one fine day sort of go in. So I think that bodes well from an FPL perspective for Darwin Nunez, and the fact that he did not start against Man City, I think he's primed for a start against West Ham.
Yeah.
So I'll be very tempted to bring in Nunez, particularly for the West Ham game. Also, I think there's one factor that sort of works against Salah, because our problem with Salah, apart from the Man City game, has been that he is featuring out wide a lot of times, and that sort of changed in the City game, where you know Klopp sort of put him a bit more central. Now that Luis Diaz and Jota, these are the wide options, and they're both out with injury, which means that Salah is a proper winger option that is available right now.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if Klopp will have that in mind, and he'll probably put Salah right wing, and he'll put someone like Nunez and Firmino up top, and like you said, Carvalho could feature left wing. So that might hamper the appeal of Salah, but
Yeah,
I
it
think
does.
it's at least worth bringing him. And I agree, I'm not 100% sold when it comes to captaincy yet. But yeah, I don't know. Are you firm enough on a Salah captain call this week?
We'll discuss that in captaincy. I just want to touch upon Trossard back again. So just for the people who are watching and interested in Trossard, Deserby said this that Lallana will start this one. Will start the next game, which is the game against Nottingham Forest, which could mean two things. Estupinian drops out. Trossard is shifted and tucked back into a left wing back role, and Lallana starts in midfield with Gross and Welbeck up top. The other could be Gross sitting out, Lallana again settling in the midfield, and Trossard could be pushed slightly more into a forward role, but it all depends on who's benched and what Deserby thinks. Again, it could go two ways, because if he's playing as a left wing back, it does short down the appeal of Trossard as a pick, because essentially you're looking at a 1 week punt. You don't want him against City, especially next week. Then it becomes a problem. So just monitor for that. Try to get more team news from as much Brighton fans you can. Check the Brighton forums, because I think it's very likely Estupinian, because he also said that Estupinian is not fit. He's been carrying some niggles and he's been subbed off every game and his minutes are managed. It's very likely that Trossard plays left wing back and they put Gross and Welbeck up top. It's
Could it
something to
also
monitor.
mean could it also mean a change of system? Because I think in the recent past, Lallana has not been playing further forward. He's played a lot more central, a bit of a
Center.
deepish role. So yeah,
He plays
it's a bit of
behind the strikers, as far as I know. Last time he played in that role, he was behind the strikers in the number 10 sort of a hole, or a dynamic number 8, number 10 hole. So it could be a change of system. I'm not very sure if Brighton changed their system for this game, because they have been facing this problem of not scoring enough goals at the other end, because they've been creating chances but not finishing them. So I think that's playing on Deserby's mind as well, and that could be a reason of changing the system.
yeah, that's a fair point. I think they've, like you said, they've been getting a lot of chances. Welbeck is someone that we've not spoken a lot about, and I mean, in general, he's not a very popular pick. And I know we're not sort of discussing strikers, but I think he could be a fair shout if you have
Yeah,
a forward spot and you're looking for someone. I think it's a lot safer than a Trossard because of the reasons that you just mentioned.
yeah.
There's that uncertainty. If he plays that withdrawn left wing back role, or maybe he could be advanced and he still gets into the box, but you don't know what you're gonna get, or maybe he could be benched. I think Welbeck is primed for a start, and he's been getting into good positions from what I've seen in recent weeks, and NFO are there for the taking. We know how bad they are, so yeah, it could just work out for him.
I just I'll just explain for people who are still figuring out this graph. So I'll just again for the listeners as well, if you can't see this, from game week 12 to 16, if you compile all game weeks and expected value and expected points, Zaha tops the table because he has fixtures. Bowen is second, Foden is third. When you make a transfer from game week 13 to 16, considering you're making it in 13, Foden, Saka, and Martinelli top the ticker again. In 14 to 16, Foden, Saka, and Martinelli top. If you're looking solely at 15 and 16, Foden, Bowen, and Zaha top. And if you're looking solely at game week 16, Foden tops. Again, there's also a name that we missed out. There are two names actually I want to mention apart from this. McAllister is also there. So if you're eyeing at a punt and if you think he plays up top, he does that. He can play as like the second striker at times. We've seen that in the past as well. So he's a punt if you want to. Apart from that, there are two names I want to talk for people who are looking at players from now till game week 16. So they don't want a 1 week punt, but rather a long term replacement. I think first is Sinistera. He's there from Leeds. He looked really good. He was central. And he has the potential of scoring points. Not only this week, if you look at the game week 12 fixtures, he has a decent game week against Leicester this week. And even going ahead, he has decent fixtures. I think they play Fulham next one. and they don't face a lot of tough sides up till game week 60. So Sinister is an option you can look at. Leeds are very attacking. We know that they do not stop. They try to attack. Even against Arsenal, they dominated Arsenal for the second half, which is a really good task. If you look at Arsenal's defensive stats, they've been decent. The second that I'm eyeing is, I mean, I'll ask your opinion obviously, but second I'm eyeing is Almiron personally, because I feel Newcastle at home is a different beast, and I think it's also a player that I think it's a very cheeky punt and differential. Everton are weak on that flank. Everton do not concede a lot of goals, but they consider high volume shots inside the box. Newcastle, on the other hand, are top in the top four for XG, big chances at home, and all matches considered. So I think again, Newcastle. I want a player from Newcastle. I can't go Wilson because I have three playing forwards. I don't need to take an extra hit. But again, for people who want to get the Newcastle player, Almiron could be someone who you can consider. What do you think, Z?
I think Almiron is, but obviously Sinistera sort of stands out to me, and not just him. I think Leeds are a minefield of FPL options who are just ready to burst. Because I was looking at some of their attacking numbers, and even the Arsenal game, for example, they were really. I think Arsenal was so lucky to come out with a clean sheet in that game, and I was also looking at some data. So, for example, Patrick Bamford, who has not featured a lot this season, I think he's just had 3 league starts this year,
Yeah,
and he has missed the most big chances in the league. So he's missed 8 big chances. Now, obviously, it does not reflect very well when it comes to Bamford's finishing, but it reflects the number of chances that Leeds United as a unit are creating. A guy who's not even featuring in 50% of the games is right up there for big chances missed. So I think they'll continue to create those chances. And, like you mentioned, Anshuman, they're a brave team. They like to
yeah,
attack. They like to be on the front foot. They're not afraid of conceding goals. I think that theme will continue. I'm just hoping that in the coming weeks, obviously, I think Sinistera is a good shout. But I'm just hoping that in the coming weeks, we have a bit more clarity about who is playing up top, whether it's Bamford or Rodrigo, because I think they are both good options. Once we sort of have that clarity, I am pretty sure that hoping it's Rodrigo because it gives us a good midfield spot for a
yeah.
lesser price. So yeah, I think it's something to watch out for in the coming weeks. Leeds United as a unit are a very interesting show.
Yeah, because
I
you can hold that player for a prolonged period. Because now, for example, someone like an Almiron, you can hold him against Tottenham Hotspur and then beyond as well. He's not a bad shout. But again, from someone like a Trossard or a Bowen, you could be tempted, especially Trossard. You will be essentially wanting to remove him next week for a Foden or a Saka. So it's essentially booking two transfers again. If he doesn't haul this week, you're into trouble because then you spend two transfers without any points you gained out of it. So I'm
that
essentially looking at players which I can hold if I want to next week.
that's true. And also just like one last point, and that is getting players who play for consistent teams. I think that is also
Yeah,
very crucial because I made the mistake of I'm not sure if it's a mistake because I'm ready to give Harvey Barnes a couple of weeks. So I got Madison and Barnes as a double up, but and the same thing could be applied to Zaha, right? Good fixtures, but these guys play for teams that are not very consistent. There's a reason why Palace are so down in the table. There's a reason why Leicester are right down in the table as well. So yeah, I think that is something sort of a learning for us that yes, these options are available, but if you could be a bit more patient, and I'm okay with Mount because he plays for a quality side like Chelsea.
yeah,
Chelsea will continue to score goals. You know that. City will continue to score goals. Arsenal will be there in the goals inevitably. The likes of Martinelli, Saka, especially in a season like this where the prices have been very kind. I think Rashford is another shout. I don't know if there's a bit of a question mark around his fitness levels right now, but
yeah.
just an example. You could also look at the likes of Anthony. So I think targeting those quality teams, the top half teams, which also now includes Newcastle, and great budget options. I think I'll look at the quality of the teams first, along with the fixtures as well. That would be a call out.
That's a good transition to one of our topics next. Next up, we have the defense table up. So we've sorted it by the big chances conceded by every team. So this is basically for 1 week punts. These are essentially the teams that are on the top of this table are the teams we want to target this week. Obviously, top is Fulham, Nottingham Forest, Everton, Bournemouth, and then Crystal Palace, Leicester, followed by Southampton. These are 5 6 teams that I would essentially take 1 week punts against. So Fulham versus Villa, I don't necessarily see a punt. I could have seen Coutinho, but again, Coutinho did not play last game week, and the team performed well. So Bailey could still stick it, but again, it's a short turnaround, and Gerrard is very fickle minded with his team. So it's almost playing like with fire if you want to go someone from Aston Villa. That is why I'm not looking at that fixture. Anyone you want to recommend was Fulham versus Villa?
No, I mean I've been an ex Ollie Watkins owner. I've seen him in 2 games, and he continued to miss big chances. So yeah, if you're brave, if you think that it finally comes off for him, but he's a very frustrating
Yeah.
player to own. And Villa in general have been frustrating this season. I keep hearing from their fans as well that they are not performing up to the mark. So yeah, I think I would stay well clear of them.
So next up is Nottingham. We've talked about Nottingham versus Brighton. It's pretty much the game people want to target. So again, top three picks from Nottingham versus Brighton. So if you had to pick three players from Brighton in terms of attacking punts you want to take.
Yeah, I think I mentioned Welbeck. So Welbeck would be my shout. Trossard, there are question marks, but if you ask me to pick between Trossard or Gross, I think Trossard would be my pick purely because he looks more attacking, he looks more lively. My third pick would not be an attacker. I think I would rather go a Webster or Dunk. Depending on your budget, they could get the odd goal from set piece here and there. Yeah, you just have to hope that you sort of get lucky this week, and the one that you bring in delivers.
I mean, you mentioned set pieces, which is the thing. If you look at set piece numbers, I mean, I'm not sure of the numbers. I'll have to check if Nottingham Forest are there up top, but I don't see them as a team in general who will be very strong on set pieces. Wait, I'll just reconfirm for the set piece stats. And again, if they're weak on set pieces, I think Gross. I would rate Gross higher up top. Again, he's also minutes risk. So Trossard comes in first for me just because of the fact that he'll play, at least he'll get minutes if whatever position he plays, but he'll get definite minutes. Second would be Wilbeck, and third would be Gross. If not Gross, I would maybe take a punt on McAllister because he could be a cheeky punt. I mean, we're looking at a player who could start up top as well. So that would be my third.
And he's on penalties. So that's, I mean,
Yeah,
if
that's
you're
a plus.
looking at just a 1 week punt and he gets a penalty, your long range goal, 16 points banked. I think that's job done. Why not?
Yeah, I mean penalties just swing it. So McAllister again, the table also showed us expected value table also showed us that McAllister is a decent option again. On pen swings it for him. Third up is Everton. Everton play Newcastle. As I said, Newcastle at home are a beast. They love to attack. And what about Everton is good that they've not conceded a lot of goals, but again they've conceded a lot of shots inside the box. And Newcastle as a team, as much as they try to push as many shots as they can inside the box through crosses or through passes, and they try to attack the box a lot. I think this particular stat where Everton are very weak inside the box will help Newcastle to score goals, and that is why I'm very keen to take a punt there.
Wow, that's it. I am sort of pessimistic about teams who go up against Everton, and I know the XGC looks sort of very encouraging, like 17, and they've conceded less goals. So it could be a case of variance catching up, and they end up conceding a lot more goals. But the way they've been setting up, so initially they had a hard time, but then the way they've been setting up in recent weeks, they're very pragmatic in their approach, and it almost reminds me of Burnley under Sean Dyche. The good old days where Heaton and Pope would just rack up those save points. So that is my worry. They are an annoying side to playing against, but like you said,
Yeah.
Newcastle do have the quality. But yeah, I'm just very pessimistic about picking an attacker against them. In fact, even if a quality side were up against them, I would be very hesitant to uh, back someone like a Salah, for example, because and we saw it this season as well. They could be annoying. They have that tendency. So yeah, I think I'll stay away from an attacker up against Everton personally.
Wilson is someone I do consider, but again, as you said, it's a tricky scenario. I mean, I consider that this stat could help, but again, Pickford, I think Pickford is the reason of their performance very well. He's been doing really well. Fourth up is Bournemouth versus Southampton. I don't think that fixture is probably to target. You can look at the likes of Solanke or Billing against Southampton, but not against Bournemouth. I don't think Southampton have the attacking numbers at the moment to even buy or look at someone.
Yeah.
Again, Crystal Palace play Wolves. Wolves again don't have the attacking number, so again, it would have been a good fixture if someone else played Crystal Palace, and you could probably attack that. But again, no players from Wolves to consider. Leicester City are sixth, and Leeds play Leicester City this week. Again, we've talked about Sinistera. There's Rodrigo, whose minutes are a doubt, but again, Sinistera and Aronson. Aronson also looks good, but minutes doubt. But again, Sinistera is the guy you would want to consider. He looks sharp, he looks center, he looks direct. And I think if you're looking for a player, especially from game week 12 to 16, Sinister is your guy.
Yeah, I think it's a good shot, and even Aronson is a good shot. I think he had four chances created versus Arsenal. Played the full 90 minutes as well, so that's quite and it's an encouraging sign. And yeah, it's just a bad situation where we don't know who the striker for Leeds will be. But yeah, we got to
Yeah.
live with what we have right now. I think Sinistera and Aronson are good shots.
Okay, so we've done. We'll talk about captaincy. We'll quickly touch upon James first. I think a lot of people are still looking for James' replacement. Trent was back, so no need to touch upon his replacements. Although I don't think the Trent starts this one. It could be a case where he's still being protected and he comes on as a sub. But again, James' replacement, according to FPL Optimized, again we have this table where from game week 12 to 16, this week Dunk is, especially in game week 12, Dunk is there alongside Trippier and Webster. What do you think, James, if you had to replace with someone, considering two factors: one, if you want to go Salah, and the other, if you don't want to go Salah?
Yeah, I think again we're pretty much looking at the same thing, and even the graph here suggests the same, right? Get a Brighton defender if you're looking for a 1 week punt, and you're looking at the likes of Webster and Dunk. But if you're looking sort of long term, I think Newcastle defenders, we sort of keep talking about them every week. We spoke about them last week as well. Trippier, his ownership is sort of going up. Managed to keep a clean sheet against Man United, which is very encouraging as well. So yeah, I think if you're looking long term, I would look at maybe another Newcastle defender, depending on who you have already, or an Arsenal defender. And we are seeing value. We're looking at someone like Gabriel and Saliba, who I think the way Arsenal have been performing this season, they're at least 5.56 million worth. But they're pricing in FPL right now. Saliba started at 4.5, and he's just around 5.1 or 5.2 right now, if I'm not wrong. So if you don't have any of these two, I think it's a fair shout if you want to double up on Arsenal, because I have that double up at the back already, and you go with one attacker. It could be a Jesus or it could be a Saka, depending on your team structure. So I think double Arsenal defense in the long term definitely has a lot of value. But yeah, purely from a 1 week perspective, I think a Dunk or a Webster would be my pick. I can also see some West Ham defenders in this graphic, and I am not sure about that. I
I
was sort
mean,
of a white. Yeah.
two things. West Ham are actually been decent. If you they've been in the top five for defensive stats in the last 4 to 6 game weeks, so they've like solidified at the back. They're trying to defend first, and we can see that in the stats as well. We'll if we go back to the defensive numbers. The second thing I want to say is I don't really agree with the double Arsenal point. The only reason is the fixtures for attacking players are there for Arsenal. They play Southampton, they play Nottingham Forest, and those are the games where you can see Arsenal scoring 4 to 5 goals. And I would want as many attackers as I can get from the Arsenal attack. So maybe if you want to have one, I would say it's fine if you are going that way next week, not for this week. But if I could, I would go triple Arsenal attack, because I think that's where the most points we are there to grab. And yeah, that's my thought. And no love for Crystal Palace defenders, as you said. You can go Mark Gui only for the fact because you can play him next week as well. And Brighton plays City, and as you can't play Dunk, it's probably a no clean sheet zone there. But again, I don't expect Crystal to keep a clean sheet even against Wolves. Very lucky they got against Leicester because Leicester were very poor. And we keep saying this. Probably they do keep a clean sheet. So if you are okay with that, you can probably go Mark Gui again. And the other option, first preference would be Dunk for me.
Yeah, I think the options are very limited right now. The
Yeah,
way the landscape in FPL is right now, the premiums are not really performing apart from Cancelo. That's been the case. Trent is just back, but like you said, he
yeah,
probably will not feature because there are question marks over his fitness issues. Another I shout would be Joe Gomez, who featured against Man City. He had a good game. And I think he's a cut price option if I'm not wrong. I'm
yeah.
not sure what his exact price is.
Five
I think he
point
could,
three. He's around the 5 million mark, I think.
I think he could be a shrewd pick if someone fancies a way into the Liverpool. If you still trust Liverpool to keep clean sheets and you don't want to spend a lot of money, I
I,
think he's definitely worth a punt in my opinion.
I would say wait for the Liverpool situation, because there could be a situation where Trent is forced to play in the right midfielder role if Milner is not fit enough. So I'm waiting for such a similar update. I don't think it will happen because Milner is more suited to the right midfielder role, or Harvey Elliott is more suited there. But again, wait and watch, and probably you can look at Trent or Gomez next week. Just one more play again, and even in the premium bracket, I don't think Robertson is not really up there at the moment. He's not putting up the stats. So till then, you can save money somewhere else. Use that money to buy Salah. Just another addition. Doherty is back. Conte is favoring him again. He's made two press conference praising Doherty, and you can probably go look at him as well. The only caveat, he has a very tough game week this week, and also potential rotation going into Conte's team. Obviously, there's rotation risk going for him. So two things you can look at in terms of picking players.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
I think I like a Spurs defender going forward, depending on how much you can. And Doherty is obviously quite cheap, so Man United obviously not a great fixture for clean sheet, but he whenever he plays, he's very attacking. So it's not just one route 2 points; you have multiple route 2 points with a player like him. So yeah, I think that's
Yep.
a good shout. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll come back to captaincy. When you look at the fixtures, who do you think is a good captain option this week, and who are you looking to captain?
It's I totally expect Salah to be the most captain option because obviously it's the narrative, right? Uh, the old king is back, scored against the best team in the league, scored a goal after a long time. He's on penalties. The fixtures are about to turn. But yeah, like I said, I still want to see a bit more. I want to see him play a bit more central. Uh, I think owning him this week is fine personally, and I know he's going to be captain a lot. But I fancy Darwin Nunez for the armband. I think it's too good an opportunity to pass over. And like I keep saying every week, I think the best Liverpool option in FPL is the player who's playing up front for Liverpool. And with his benching last time, I think he's primed for a start. He'll definitely start versus West Ham. I am very confident he'll get the chances as well. It's just a matter of whether or not he converts them yet again, and he has to at some point. So
Yeah.
I think that would be my play. I really rate him for captaincy this week.
Just going back to the defensive numbers in the last four, West Ham are second best in terms of defensive numbers. So there is a decent scenario where they set up deep again. They didn't have Zuma and Dawson because Dawson was carrying a debt like Zuma was ill. I expect them to be back, which also helps their case. It's only a case where Salah will be he will probably be the most popular captain this week, and he is probably the safest out there. But yes, there is a case where he will still have to play wide, which is what is problematic. If Jota was fit, I would not be very worried to captain Salah. But now that he's out for sure, there will be some tweak in the system because you can't afford to play him more central now because you don't have a left winger essentially. That is what bothers me. And you have to start your two forwards because that's the only senior player options you have at the moment. Apart from
That's
that, looking at the fixtures, I think Brighton Nottingham does appeal me in terms of captaincy, but it's too risky comments with the comments and everything. I think there's something with the Zoom. There's a bit issue with our screens. I'll fix that up. But anyways, you can talk about Brighton, Nottingham, and you can take up next cases such as Bournemouth, Southampton if someone wants to fancy captaining them.
yeah. I think Brighton, like, I mean, they have a good fixture, but I think captaincy will be a stretch. It's a bit too much. These players are good enough to own, and we're looking at a game week where City and Arsenal, the two best teams in the league this season, are not featuring. And I think the next best option is definitely Liverpool because Spurs are playing Man United, so that's not an optimal fixture for captaincy
Yeah.
unless you really fancy someone like a Son or Kane to sort of hit United on the counter and punish them, which I don't think is very likely to happen. Even if it happens, I don't think it's worth the risk. It's a very punty territory if you sort of talk about that. So I think I would purely look at Liverpool attackers. Like just pick one of them. If you're still confused, if you're still afraid of going for someone like a Darwin Nunez long term, I think just stick it on Salah. He'll probably get something out of it. And yes, West Ham do have encouraging defensive numbers recently, but if you take into account the quality of Liverpool as an attacking unit,
Yeah.
right? They're playing, not your average Premier League side. They're playing Liverpool, who are an elite, attacking side. They like scoring goals. Defensively, they've been shaky, but going forward, they're really solid. I think the trend will continue. I expect Liverpool to get a lot of chances, and yeah, Salah could definitely get something out of it. So yeah, play safe, get Salah. I would definitely not go and uh, for Brighton or any other player for that matter this week.
If someone had Salah and Darwin, would you be tempted to go Darwin over Salah?
Yeah, I definitely would. And
And if
we've seen the trend this season, right? The chances are falling to the Liverpool forwards. I don't think it's a coincidence, unless we are very sure that yes, Salah is somehow playing, up front, where Klopp maybe asks Firmino to play a bit more on the right, because I think they were playing that way for about 30 minutes in the first half against Man City, where Firmino was sort of drifting wide and Salah was coming
hmm,
central, and then the dynamic sort of changed, as the game went on. But yeah, Salah is a safe play, but I am backing Nunez to definitely do well this week.
I think I think with Firmino looking around in the center, I am not very confident captaining Nunes. I would captain Salah. That's because it also the penalty factors just swing it for me. Other fixtures that I can look at is probably the Chelsea Brentford fixture, where you can look at captaining someone. Havertz, if it could be a cheeky punt if you want to, but again, Mount is the safest option to go there if you are looking at. Also, a lot of people had asked questions about whether they should go James to Cucurella or Chilwell. I would not necessarily recommend because of the fixtures coming up for Chelsea. They have Brentford, then United. The week after, they have probably fixtures like Arsenal coming up. So there are not a lot of clean sheets I can see in the games ahead. Best to go for other players, save money, and invest in your attack.
Oh, what are your, because you sort of spoke about the likes of Cucurella and Chilwell, what are your thoughts about Kepa? Because I had considered him a few weeks back, but yeah, I thought it will take time for Chelsea to settle down as a defensive unit.
Yeah.
And it's obvious, but I think he had a great game last time. I think he made a triple save in one of those moments, and the price is really good. Do you rate him as an option yet, or we should hold on?
I rate him as an option. The only problem is when Mendy is fully fit, does he start or not? So
Okay,
I'm not sure if he continue, but how long will he continue to play in that position? So
okay.
that's the only doubt I have with Kepa. But again, post game week 16, when Chelsea's fixtures again get better, I think I will consider Kepa because he's very cheap. So and it really, if you can get a piece of the Chelsea defense for such price, you would want to go there.
It does, it does. And you know what? I mean, I'm slightly, not slightly, in fact, I'm very confident because if you remember, I did a Potter thread when he was announced as the
Yeah.
Chelsea manager. And one of my observations was that I expected him to, have Kepa as the first choice goalkeeper. Obviously, the injury dynamics with Mendy are different, but I think the fact that Kepa is a lot more comfortable on the ball, and we've seen with Mendy in the past, he is a bit of a calamity on the ball. He's a good shot stopper, but yeah, it's I'm not sure about that. But again, if you feel that he's not 100% first choice, it could be a wait and watch scenario, and we'll see what happens when Mendy's back.
Yep. I think also some people talking about Fulham versus Villa as a captaincy thing for Mitrovic. I'm not sure he was still playing with certain issues with his fitness. I wouldn't captain someone, especially with Salah as an option. So uh, can take punts, but I think just having enough punty players in your team or having an 11, if you can set up without hits with Salah as a captain, is decent enough. And also, I don't expect Salah's captaincy to be very high as an EO. Not a lot of people will be comfortable going there.
I don't think there are enough options with that kind of
Yeah,
upside to go against the flow. Like
yeah,
you can go for a differential if there are enough reasons and not just for the sake of it. And I think this particular week is very straightforward. If it has to be a Liverpool attacker, and yeah, definitely Salah because he's going to be right up there and he's on penalties as well. So who knows? Could be back among the goals
yeah.
yet again.
We'll quickly take everyone through our teams. We'll also touch. I just want to touch upon free hit as well. So if you want to free hit, because we've not mentioned till now, I don't think this is the best game week to free hit. I think Z also agrees on this. You probably want to save your free hit as much as you can. Although if you're in a scenario where you have 7 to 8 players missing out, you will have to free hit, and it's okay in that scenario. But if you can bench 4 of your City plus Arsenal players and field about 9 to 10 players with a -4 or maybe even perhaps a decent -8, I am not against it. I feel that the 4 City plus Arsenal players that you will save this week will be very essential and helpful, and you're already a transfer ahead of everyone in playing the game. So it's fine to have 4 City or Arsenal players, bench all of them, and then be fine with 10 players playing this week. But do not free hit.
Yeah, I think I sort of agree. And like in my situation, my team is in a terrible shape right now. And despite that, I'm not considering the free hit because I think it's a very valuable chip. And we've seen already, right, outside factors affecting FPL, and it could be a similar situation with the World Cup and how it pans out later. There could be a lot of blank and double game weeks. I want to sort of save my free hit for that. And yeah, same applies to everyone, I guess. If needed, take hits. If you're really down bad, if you're looking at just potentially 5 or 6 players, I think it's okay to take hits purely because if you, for example, if you take someone like a Madison out who's not featuring this week, he is not going to play. So you don't have to worry about him potentially playing and getting some sort of a score. The classic -4 this week is a -2. You sort of looking at that. So I think go ahead and take the risk.
Yeah,
A
I
-8 or
mean,
something like that is
my only
definitely
advice would be
okay.
not have players which are only 1 week points. If you're in a situation where you can't afford, you have to take a -8 to field 9 to 10 players. Have players which are long-term players, long-term picks, because then you're saving transfers somewhere down the line, and then you can use them up to catch up. So that's the only advice I'll give for players who are taking a -4 or -8.
Definitely, yeah. We've spoken about the likes of Liverpool who have like good long-term fixtures, someone like a Mount, for example. But yeah, you're looking at a Trossard or someone, I don't think it's worth taking the additional hits.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay, we'll quickly move through our teams. First up, I have my team, and wait, we will have to fix our faces again. There's some issue with that. But anyways, I'll read you guys through my team. My team at the moment is Pope in goal, Trippier, Doherty, Cancelo, Sessignon, Walker, Peters in defense, which will be my playing back four, I think, because Cancelo doesn't play. Apart from that, I have Madison in midfield, which I have to remove. I have Martinelli, Salah, Zaha, Andreas, Tony, Haaland, and Mitrovic. I did the Kevin De Bruyne to Salah move last night just because of pure enthusiasm, because he scored a goal and nothing else. That's there, and I am planning to take another. Planning to take a -4 to get in the likes of Almiron or a Sinistera this week. Both of them only because they're long term picks and I can hold them for a potential period of 2 to 3 game weeks. And forward going ahead, I can bring in Foden and Jesus for Tony and Zaha. So that's the plan at the moment. The captaincy armband will be on Salah. Now you see I have Doherty and Sessi on both because I was forced into a move where I took Doherty. I took a punt and it played off well. I do sense Conte talked about Perez playing in a front three. So if that happens, Session could come on and play on the left wing back role, Doherty on the right wing back role. In case it doesn't happen, I think Session still comes on for a 1 pointer because it's a big game and he will protect his players eventually want to keep the clean sheet. So it's still a 1 pointer, and I think it's fair enough because Neko Williams will also get a 1 pointer. And going down the line, Session is a better pick. So I'm totally okay with it. I'm totally happy with my team. I don't see there is any issues with it.
Yeah, and I think in a blank game week, every point counts. So
Yeah,
you
every
get the
point counts.
one
So
pointer,
I'm
you take
and
it. Go
going
ahead.
ahead, I can obviously rotate Doherty and Session also, which also helps in my case.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Going to your team, we have this as just a second. There is your team. Yeah, can you read it out, or should I read it out?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's just been. I did a lot of chasing and I was finally up there, but the last 2 weeks have been terrible. And I think it's about to get worse because, as you can see, there are a lot of players with blank game weeks, and there is Madison, and there is Reece James. So a lot of players who have been suspended, have been injured, not featuring this week. And there's Neko Williams, who's as good as a potential 1 pointer. So yeah, I think it needs a bit of surgery, and I'm still very keen on saving my free hit, like we've discussed already. I'm open to taking hits. At least a -8, I think, will be needed because. Uh, I don't really have a lot of options here. But yeah, very very comfortable with that. I think I'll sort of target and bring in long term players. So yeah, I've got Nick Pope in goal. Double Arsenal defense will obviously not play, but yeah, there's the likes of Neko Williams in defense. I'll have to do sort of something, figure out a solution for that. Webster is in there, which is sort of a good thing. Uh, I need to take Reece James out, and I'm looking at long term options. Maybe a defender who will not exactly get great points this week, but I've got Doherty in my mind, who
Yeah.
may not keep a clean sheet this week, but I'm looking at the next 3, 4, 5. I think there is potential there. So yeah, he's in my mind. In the midfield, De Bruyne will make way for Salah. I think it's a no brainer. I'm not overthinking that. Madison will also have to go out. I have a few options in mind, purely based on what we've already discussed. So I'll figure out. I'll sort of go through the options before I make a move. And yeah, the likes of Zaha and Harvey Barnes, I think I'm going to give them maybe another week or two, and it doesn't make sense to take them out in a blank game week. Up front, Haaland will stay. He'll be on the bench. I've got Darwin Nunez. He will get the armband. for sure. Uh, yeah, I think I'm at least looking at a -8 and bringing in Salah, but giving the armband to Darwin Nunez just for that little bit of upside chasing. And I fancy Nunez to do well this year, this
I mean,
particular.
yours is a classic case where you can free hit and you can either take a -8 or free hit. So it's a classic case where you will be in a conundrum. I think a free hit does decent because you have a decent Arsenal plus City attack set up already. So you can probably free hit, and next game week you do Madison to Foden, which also sets you up
Yeah.
well. You don't
I, I,
necessarily have
I
to
I
go
did
Salah.
I, I did consider it, but I don't think there are a lot of appealing fixtures this week apart from
Yeah,
Liverpool,
that's a
to
downside.
be
Yeah,
honest.
that's true.
And so I think hits will sort of do. I'm comfortable with that. The idea does not make me uncomfortable. I know people have the stigma about, oh, you cannot take these many hits, but uh, last season, the week I finished 20th in the world, the game week, I took a -12, and it worked out well for me. And I had Trent captain against Arsenal, so it was out of the box, but it turned out sort of okay. So I think this is one of those weeks where I just have to take it up on the chin if it goes wrong. And yeah, if it goes right, then nothing like it. I fancy some of the players that I'm planning to bring in. Let's see how it goes.
Okay. Anyways, we'll wrap up. I don't think we have many more to discuss. Again, if you guys are watching this for the first time, please consider subscribing to our channel. We post a lot of content in terms of we doing regular pods. We're also trying to post out mini content, and we also are very active on our social media handles. So if you want to check us out there, we have tagged our social media handles as well. And do hit the like button. It really helps us pushing our content and gives us enough motivation to come every week and do this. Does it not, Z?
It is, and yeah, just we're just 6 subscribers away from the magic number. At the
Yeah.
time of recording, we're at 194. So yeah, hit that subscribe button, help us reach that 200 mark. We are very keen, we are very excited, and we plan to continue this week after week. And yeah, I think that's it for now. Anshuman,
Yep.
any last
That's it.
words?
No, anything. Good luck for game week 12.
Good luck, good luck. That's it for now. Goodbye.
Yeah. Bye, guys. Cheers.